Okay, we are now live and on air. You are listening to Psychic Talk Radio, and you are also listening to our new series. This is episode number 2 in the series, and you are listening to the new series named Are You Cursed, Crossed, Possessed, or Hexed? And this is your host, Reverend Adam. We may be joined by some other hosts tonight, but we'll see how that goes. It's a little tricky getting everyone on the same page right now, but we are doing what we can, and we are going forward with the show. Now, in this show, what we are doing in this new series is we are taking callers that feel they may be cursed, crossed, possessed, or hexed. Anybody out there that feels that there is something blocking them from their success or feels that something is preventing them from reaching their goals. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be helping these callers determine what it is that is blocking them or preventing them from reaching goals, and we're going to be prescribing what spiritual methods can be used to help overcome this blockage in the road, or these curses, these hexes, these possessions. We will be talking about people that are possessed and how to best assist them, everything we can within today's show. Our regular show will be carried out on tomorrow, which will be for regular callers with questions for psychic work, that kind of genre, what we usually do here on Psychic Talk Radio. But anybody that would like to call in to today's show and have their questions answered as to whether they're cursed, crossed, hexed, possessed, can call in with the guest call-in number 323-642-1694. That's once more 323-642-1694. So people who are listening to the show and want to call in, once you get called into the show and you're listening, if you push the number 1 on your touch-tone phone, this will bring you into the queue and allow us to know that you want your question answered, and we can bring you on air. Remember that all things shared here on the show are also confidential. This information is not shared outside of the show, and we try and stay even, a little bit away from the deeper aspects and details on the show. For more in-depth services, you can reach me through the website at howpsychic.com. That's going to be howpsychic.com, howpsychic.com. You are once more tuned into Are You Cursed, Crossed, Possessed, or Hexed? This is episode number 2. We decided to go ahead and do this show and allow people out there in the world, besides what we have here within office, actually who really need help, who really need something to help them get away from whatever is crossed them, cursed them, possessed them. That's why we're doing the show. We have been getting a lot of people out there during this time. We are in what's known as spiritual warfare. We are in the time where the darkness is really battling people with light, battling against people that have light within them. Okay, and they're trying to tear them down right now. They're trying to bring them down, and they're trying to corrupt them. They're trying to corrupt their souls. Now, in the last episode, we spoke of how these things operate and why they do what they do, but ultimately they are doing it because they are trying to corrupt you. We've also talked about how people have jealousy and anger towards other people that they feel are threats. And these people that have that jealousy and anger towards others, they will throw these curses, these hexes, these things onto you. And you need to be careful in this world because you always need to protect yourself. always need to protect yourself in this world. Spiritually, physically, everything you can do to make sure you are protected. And that does not mean going out and getting hysterical and going crazy and thinking everyone is after you. It just means to do it with a level mind and an informed mind. You've got to be informed as to what's out there and how to properly protect yourself. Also, a very powerful part of the process of eliminating darkness from one's life is to go through, a spiritual cleansing or removal, to get things taken away and off of you that no longer serve your highest good, that no longer serve the positive purpose in your life. Number 2 is to work on that protection, to keep that protection going at all times. And number 3 is to finally go ahead and seal the work and make sure that the sealing is like the lock on the doors, and the doors are the protection, okay? So once you put that lock on those doors, you're good, okay? Now, the 4th bit of this is to go through the final stage, which is emotional healing, energetic healing. If we have traumas within our past, we have things within our past that no longer serve our positive purpose but still affect us. And sometimes we're conscious of them, and sometimes we're not conscious of them. Sometimes we're not aware that we haven't healed something. And other times we feel that we may have healed something, but it truly hasn't been healed. So you really need to make sure you're always vigilant about what is out there and what energies you have gotten around you. In this world, what we're noticing right now is a lot of empaths. We're noticing a lot of people out there as empaths. Now, what an empath is someone who absorbs emotion and energy from people, places, and things. Someone who absorbs it like a sponge. And a lot of times they're out there and they don't even know they're empathic, and they're happy one minute, but they come into a room where someone is, or they go into touching an item, and they absorb that energy, and they're frustrated or mad or sad the next minute when they were just happy the minute before. That's because they're empathic, and what they're doing is they're absorbing these energies from outside sources. And what we try and teach here on Psychic Talk Radio, and now through the new series, is how to protect yourself, how to overcome, so much of the negative energy that out there can affect us. And as empaths, we also teach how to filter that energy, how to filter and filtrate anything that comes through so it doesn't have as much of an impact on you when you do come into contact with it. We are here to try and teach people about their gifts, and trying to teach people that these gifts were given by God and were given for a reason, to not only help ourselves but to help others. This is why you have a lot of people out there with a great heart who are very gifted trying to help other people, and, sometimes they don't know what they're doing because their energy, that they absorb, and they don't know what kind of gifts they have, they end up getting affected, and then they wonder, well, why am I helping everybody, but I don't seem to be doing well myself? And this is because sometimes we got to learn how to help ourselves before we can help others. But, it's also about realizing everything in this world is energy. Everything we touch, everything we come into contact with has an energy. And whatever touched it beforehand, excuse me, whatever touched it beforehand, whatever came into contact with these things, these places, these people, those have all left impressions. That has left a type of energy signature on it. So let's say you end up ordering some food at a restaurant, but the person preparing the food in the kitchen or the one that's bringing it to you at the table had a very dark thought or some kind of dark energy in their head because they were arguing with their spouse or somebody else the night before. That transfers that energy into the food. This is why blessing and cleansing food out when you get it from outside sources before eating it is so important. Everything is important to cleanse and to purify when you get it or you receive it, because everything has some kind of energy transferred to it, and you really don't know what was transferred to it. You don't know who it was that, brought it. At the end of the day, you don't know the waiter or the cook in the kitchen or the restaurant you went to any different than anybody else in this world. Is a stranger. Sorry, just taking a little sip of my drink here, making sure I clear my throat. But what you really want to do is you want to be aware of what's out there. Now, people throw things for any number of reasons. Sometimes people don't need a reason to throw something on you. They just don't like the cut of your brow, This is the way that the universe right now is working in the physical world. This is the way the battle is raging on. We have so many people out there wondering, why am I so good-hearted? Why do I struggle so much, though? Because I'm trying to make ends meet, and you've got people out there that don't even deserve money, and they've got millions of dollars, And that's because the people with millions of dollars that don't even deserve it, and they get it, okay? Those are the ones that can't hold on to it. Those are the ones that don't understand how it works. And eventually, they may have it for a while, but eventually they're going to lose it all, and they pay that karmic price at the end, okay, because they're out there doing harm, and they're being greedy, and they're not sharing or doing good for others. And then you have people that do receive money out of nowhere, but they're out there and they're doing good for others. Karma is a fickle friend. Sometimes, you got to really look at each individual case to answer that question, and it's not going to be that easy to answer, okay? It's not going to be easy to answer, why are these people handed one thing when they don't deserve it and I'm handed nothing, okay? The reason that we struggle so much as good light beings in this world to make ends meet or to get anywhere in this world is because when we do get somewhere, we maintain it, we keep it, we value it. We know what it takes to achieve it, okay? So it stays with us. It doesn't leave, and we don't pay that price at the end. We pay the price up front. So, there are many things out there in this world that can block you, that can stop you from succeeding. There are many things out there, but one thing we try and teach, no matter what's out there in this world, if you have the right frame of mind, if you have the right train of thought, if you stay positive every day, as much as you possibly can, then you're creating a positive momentum of light. If you live in the heart chakra, if you live in love, and you live through that love for yourself and others, then nothing in this world is going to be able to touch you. Nothing in this world is going to be able to bring you down. But there are cases where you already have something on you or something preventing you. Those do need to be professionally removed. A lot of times people get out there, they're wondering about, can I research this? Can I try and do this myself? And some people do have a little success with that, but it depends upon the case. You have cases where people can do a little research and they could do a little something to cleanse themselves, like a spiritual bath or using sage or a kind of smudge incense to clean themselves, and they work out just well because whatever was on them wasn't that strong, wasn't that, abrasive. But then you have cases where people do research and try and remove it on their own, but whatever's on them is too strong for them to defeat on their own, and they don't meet that kind of success doing it on their own. You see, so it's one case to another. Every case is unique. Every case is valid at the most, because, or at the least in a way, because every case is unique. Why? Because every individual is unique. Every person has their own individual personality, their own individual soul, their own individual path. And, one thing we do teach is staying in the vortex, staying positive, using the law of attraction, the law of manifestation, okay, the law of karma. These are your guides. These are your best friends. These are your tools. Your best thoughts, your positive thoughts are your tools, okay? So remember, those are your best friends. Fear, doubt, worry, concern. These are all your worst enemies. When we have fear, doubt, worry, and concern, we're only manifesting, we're only helping to give power to the very force that we're afraid of, to the very thing we don't want to happen when we worry too much about it. This is what we call reverse manifestation, when you are manifesting the very thing you do not want, because you're too focused on what you do not want and not focusing on what you can do. You see, a lot of times we focus on what we can't do, and we get lost in that, and then we forget all about what we can do, and we get stuck, and that's when we kind of cross ourselves up. We're not putting something on ourselves, we're not cursing ourselves, but that's when we're crossing ourselves up. Now, it looks like we do have a caller. And they're kind of just playing around here. They came on air and then they went off air. If you're out there and listening to today's show and would like to be on air with us, once you've called in, please push the number 1 on your touch-tone phone. This will bring you in the queue so we can bring you live and on air. And for those of you tuning in but would like to call in to today's show, the guest call-in number is 323-642-1694. Once more, that's going to be 323-642-1694. Okay, so for those of you also tuning in and listening to today's show that would like assistance with whatever you're going through, please feel free to go to our website at howpsychic.com. Once more, that's going to be howpsychic.com. howpsychic.com. Okay. So now when we cross ourselves up, this is because we become too worried, too concerned, too involved in the thought of what can harm us or what is preventing us from succeeding, or, what's going on with someone else. And why is this person getting all this or doing all this? And we forget that, it's not about what we can't do. It's not about what we don't have. It's about what we do have and what we can do. Because if we focus on that, we are leading energetically by example. And then eventually what happens is that the energy will shift to our favor, which means whatever it was we were worried about not having before, we finally have, because we were focused on what we can do, what is out there that is within our capability. Now, just because you can do something doesn't mean you're any less of an individual or a person, or, doesn't mean that you're any less valuable than the next person out there in the world. Now, God sees us all as equals at the end of the day. And God is like a parent. God does not judge, but God does want, like a parent, wants us all to come to the light, wants us all to be a part of the light, wants us all to do good and to help each other. And when one of us is evil or doing harm to others, they get they get into trouble and they get punished. And it's not God that's punishing them, but it is themselves that's punishing them, because they are creating their own bad karma. They are creating an energy force that is dark and is very dark, and what it's going to do is it's going to bounce back on them, because when you do evil and you do bad, bad things happen, and bad things happen to you. So remember, God is out there. He's looking out for all of us, and he wants us all to be protected. Well, we're going to do a prayer for protection today for all of the listeners and everybody out there that really is looking for, some kind of relief. And what we're going to do right now is we're going to pray to St. Michael, and we're going to ask St. Michael now to come in. Saint Michael the Archangel, please defend us in battle. Be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, thrust into hell Satan and all evil spirits who prowl about the world, seeking the ruin of souls. Amen. Now, this is a really good prayer that we can use. This is a prayer that we can implement into our daily lives. And when you pray with passion, you give it power. When you pray without passion, you're just praying because it's words, then there's no power behind it. You're giving it no soul, so it will have no life of its own to help you. But when you pray with that passion, you pray with that soul, you are putting life into it. You are breathing life into it, as we say. So when you breathe life into it, what happens? It takes on that life force of its own. It will begin to call in that energy to help you, to really relieve and protect. Okay. Now, let's see here. We're going to go ahead and take a few-minute break, listening to some music, and we'll be right back. But beforehand, for those of you that would like to call in to today's show, the call-in number is 323-642-1694. Once more, that is 323-642-1694. For those of you tuning in and listening but don't know how to get in the queue, please push number 1 on your touch-tone phone. This should bring you live and in the queue, and then we can bring you on air so you can ask your question. So anybody out there that has a question, no matter how big or small it is, don't worry. Go ahead and push the number 1 on your phone. Bring yourself into the queue, and I can bring you live and on air. And you can ask your question, and you can get your answer. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and take our break now for a few minutes. Remember, love and light, everyone. Love and light. Okay, once more, you are listening to the new episode on Psychic Talk Radio. For those of you listening out there today, we are talking about curses, hexes, jinxes, and possessions, and any kind of crossing that one does to themselves. We are taking callers with questions on these topics today on the show. We are also hosting our regular Psychic Talk radio show tomorrow night, so please stay tuned. You are currently listening to our new show entitled, one moment. Are you cursed, crossed, possessed, or hexed? Now, for those of you that would like to call into today's show, the call number for guests is 323-642-1694. Once more, this is 323-642-1694. Now, on today's show, as we're talking, we just got done speaking about what it is when someone crosses themselves up, when someone is too worried and concerned about what they cannot do or what's out there and affecting them. This is when we're crossing ourselves up. This is how we cross ourselves up. So, all sorts of energy is out there. We were talking about how energy transference happens and how it can leave one set of hands and pass on to another. And that was, one of the examples we gave here was about food. And when we go to eat food at a restaurant, how we don't know what the energy of the cook is like. We don't know what the energy of the waiter is like. Whether they were upset in their head about something. And, if they were, that energy can transfer to the food. And all of a sudden, once you eat the food and then you go home, all of a sudden you're mad and you don't know why you're mad, or, you're upset about something and you don't know why. This is how energy transfers. This is how it happens. So remember, you've got to be conscious of how these things happen. You've got to be very conscious of what you come into contact with. One of the things we've also talking about is empathic capability. When someone can sense the energy of someone else or the energy of objects and people and places, it's very important. And usually what an empath does, and I didn't say this earlier, is that we take on energy as emotion. Well, all of a sudden our emotion changes from one thing to another, and it happens very quickly. It can happen very quickly. So you've got to be careful when you're focused on what you're doing. You got to be careful. Where did your food come from? What hands were touching it? You don't need to know all that, but what you do need to know is how to protect yourself, how to cleanse these things out. So when you get food from outside sources, or you get anything for that matter, you want to do a prayer. You want to do some kind of cleansing and blessing on whatever it is that you're coming into contact with. Because you don't know, maybe the person that delivered it to you was possessed by something evil. You just don't know. This is why you've got to be vigilant, and you can't know everything out there in the world. Nobody can ever expect you to, because there's too much to know. And honestly, one thing, it's very hard to find out information on everything you come into contact with. And number two, there's so much information out there in this world that cannot be contained in one mind or in one brain. So you are currently listening to Are You Cursed, Crossed, Possessed, or Hexed? This is episode number 2 in our new series. For those of you that would like private counsel, you can find me through my website at howpsychic.com. That's going to be howpsychic.com. HOWPSYCHIC And we want to thank everyone today for tuning in to today's show, for listening in and calling and everything, because we are out here now and we are on the air trying to reach to other people in this world that aren't here in Georgia, and we want to share with you this knowledge. We want to share with you how to properly cleanse things out, how to protect yourselves. And when we get some callers on one of these future shows, we will be able to help assist each individual caller. This will facilitate giving out knowledge and giving out wisdom, and other people can also benefit from this. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to teach you some kind of prayer that you can use to do a daily protection on yourself. We've done this a little bit earlier in the show, but it's a St. Michael prayer. It's a good prayer. You can call in St. Michael using this, and St. Michael is known to help defeat evil and defeat bad stuff from one's life. Now, the prayer goes, St. Michael, the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, thrust into hell Satan and all evil spirits who prowl about the world, seeking the ruin of souls. Amen. Now, this is a little bit more Christian-based, and we cater to people of all faiths and all backgrounds for this kind of stuff. So remember, if you have a prayer of your own that you feel is appropriate or you feel is going to be good, then go ahead and use it. If you don't have a prayer and you don't want to go with a standard prayer, pray from the heart. Pray from the heart. Just put words together. Say what it is that you want to have happen. When you pray over food to cleanse it and to bless it, you can thank God for it. But remember, also, it's about praying over the food to cleanse it, to protect it, or any object for that matter that you don't know what energy was touching it before it got to you. Okay, so you can say something to the effect of, I cleanse this food by the power of the divine light so that it may be pure and that it may be wholesome for me to consume. And you can say that I thank the Lord, or I thank God for this food and this substance so that I may survive within this world. And I cleanse it with all the purest of light as I consume it, and may it fill me well. So this is just some simple prayer work that one can do as an example to cleanse any object, or instead of saying food, you could say this object. Okay. When you want to cleanse the house, you can say, I cleanse this house by the divine light, so that this house may be wholesome and pure, and that this house may be filled with love and kindness, and that this house may be filled with wealth and prosperity. And you bring it about in such a way with passion when you pray. You've got to pray with passion. You've got to pray with the soul, because if you don't, you're not speaking life into the prayer. You're not giving it power and life force that it needs. So remember, everything in this world is energy, and our thoughts become our reality. If we feel negative, or we fear something, or we're too worried about something, these are our worst enemies, because we're giving it that power to happen that much more in our lives. Instead of focusing on what we can't do or what we don't have, let's focus on what we do have. Let's focus on what we can do, because everything else, when we do that we want or we need, will fall into alignment. But it's about creating that momentum also. You can't just do it for a day or two. You've got to do it for a while, because there is a negative momentum built up in this world with people's thoughts. Always so worried, always concerned, always, wondering, what are they doing? What's going on with them? Instead of, focus on building up a positive momentum of light and thought within their mind. when we build up that momentum, we keep that momentum going, eventually it's going to surpass the momentum of the negativity that's been going on. And we're so brainwashed to wake up and think, whatever's wrong. We focus on whatever's wrong, whatever's not right. And, that creates a momentum that's going to be opposing to what we want. So what it does is a reverse manifestation. It takes away the good and it brings in the bad. And this is how we cross ourselves up. This is what we've been talking about today. So we want to thank everyone once more for tuning in to today's show. You've been listening to Are You Cursed, Crossed, Possessed, or Hexed? Our new series. This has been episode number 2. You've also been listening to your host, which is me, Reverend Adam. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Remember, tomorrow night is a regular scheduled show, which is Psychic Talk Radio. Please tune in for that. And all services are available through our website at howpsychic.com. Once more, that is how, HOW, psychic, PSYCHIC.com. .com. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Namaste, love, light, and good night.